Thank you very much for having me. Don't thank me yet.
You have the right to remain silent.
Yeah, I just saw your character expired.
Because it's on TV. Do you have a single fact to back that up?
You know, this is the one where,
Think you're funny?
you understand me?
I think you need to go get a dictionary.
You need to get like a DJ switchboard over there with like record scratches.
Yeah.
Wicka, wicka, wicka.
Yeah, we'll save up some podcasting money whenever we actually start getting it, and then
Be good to just throw more money at more
that's
bullshit
what I'll
to bring
invest
in
in
here.
Yeah, of course.
Just fill the table up with all sorts of whatever you can find.
Of nonsensory.
I want to push a button and I want the room to shapeshift around. I want the couch to flip upside down and there to be like a bar underneath it.
Okay.
I want
Anything
you to
else?
push a button and for the whole entire bungalow to just be able to fly like a rocket.
Okay.
We might need it. I mean,
With all the worldly nonsense that's going on,
yeah.
might need to run away.
Yep. Be able to take this place to Mars.
Right behind Elon. Elon's like, if anybody's got any house rockets, go ahead. Follow me.
I'm sure somebody out there has got like a house rocket. So, or some
I
kind
don't
of
know.
like,
That's a little cartoony.
or some
still.
panic room that they can get inside and push a button and it becomes a
Lift
vehicle.
off. Like
Maybe
off
it
the
just
ground
becomes a
into
vehicle
space.
or something.
Oh, okay.
Somebody's probably made something
Yeah.
cool like that somewhere.
Well, if they can do it in the movies, sure as heck can do it.
I mean,
in
you
real
could
life.
do it. I mean, you like doing crafty stuff like that.
Yep. Just give me a couple of years. I'll bury a car in the yard and then bunker car evacuation route.
Sure.
Well,
so
you want to go ahead and introduce the movie, even though it's in the title?
well, we really struggled with coming up with what to watch for tonight. We were scrolling through. I think we spent. How long do you think we spent looking for a movie to watch?
I don't know, a while.
At least a half hour.
We were like really wanting vampire, like something vampire, and it did not pay.
It's been in the
pay out.
vampire mood for a while, but scrolling through vampire movies, we weren't able to really find one that we liked. Well, actually, that's not true. There were plenty of vampire movies on there that were good, but I've seen most of them.
Seen them,
or they were just so obscure, just really bottom of the barrel
right
gas station vampire movies.
at the bottom of the $2.
And maybe, and you know, I'm sure there's some of those are good, but you just, you know, when you're just browsing through, you can't really tell right away which ones would be good and which ones would be worth your time and which ones would be.
Here's my opinion on that. After trying to give Hellraiser every chance in the book, it's hard just to sit down and be like, let's pick that one. It seems like a little waste of time, but we'll probably end up in the same situation again.
Well, yeah, there's so much content and movies out there to consume, and we only have one lifetime, and so we have to pick and choose carefully.
This
you
is
know,
Matt's pitch.
You know, if
we can't do it all.
If you lived 1,000 lifetimes, you couldn't
right
even watch close to all the movies and shows
Right.
that have ever existed. Much less, can you imagine having to watch all the content on YouTube
Right.
that's ever been made ever?
That's like we were on Prime and what was it, Nosferatu 1922, literally 100 years old this year, and it's plopping on. And even if you were like, you know, people that were around back then, even those type of movies, there was a lot of movies back then also already. So fast forward today, 100 years later, there's content freaking everywhere. That's why I would really like if people comment or send us messages about what to watch, because then it would be super duper interesting going into something maybe we have seen or haven't seen before, and it's like completely fresh. But you know, we'll be patient for that.
There's literally friends that listen to this podcast and say,
Tell
"Hey,
us!"
we listened to your podcast." Well, hey, dude, since you're listening, you know,
Right.
send us a recommendation.
Send us
you know.
something. But go ahead with Pumpkinhead
Yeah, we settled on Pumpkinhead.
And I'm almost positive
Neither of us had ever seen it.
poster. Look at the poster here. Pumpkinhead, Demon of Revenge. Dun, dun, dun.
So, like we were saying with the vampire movies, they were either, classic vampire movies that we knew were good, we had seen before, or other ones that were just gas station vampire movies. And then you go to the horror section, and it's very much sort of the same boat.
Right.
But then we come across this, and it's kind of like a mix of both. Like, you got the reputation attached to it with Stan Winston being the director, which I had no idea.
Matt was so excited about.
Yeah, I had no idea he directed a movie.
What else does he work on?
Oh, he did all the special effects and makeup for like any iconic movie you can think of, like made the fucking
Phantom of the Menace,
Predator, the Aliens, the Terminator, the
okay. You can I'll bring that up in a little bit. But,
Jurassic Park, like he worked on all your big childhood movies. Like he had a hand in with cool effects or creatures or monsters or whatever. Yeah, he was the guy. And so then he directs his own film. So yeah, you had the reputation of him going for it.
Yeah,
like he's been on some sets. He probably knows a thing or two about how to make a movie.
Right.
So watching a special effects artist take a crack as a director was super duper cool.
Yeah.
And also the lead in it, Lance Henriksen, he is a credible actor that's been in a lot of movies. And so, you knew you weren't going to get just some bottom of the barrel turd with this one. You were at least going to have something in there worth seeing.
Right.
But at the same time, it comes attached with the handful of characters that are there just to be killed with the bad acting.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it is a creature film.
Yeah.
So
how layered do you want to get with it? Do you just want to have fun with it?
Yeah.
And overall, it was pretty enjoyable. I enjoyed it pretty thoroughly. I think, it says it's 87 minutes. That's interesting. I actually thought it felt a little bit longer because some scenes
way longer. Yeah.
Seemed to
I
really
almost
drag
asked
on.
you at one point if this was a 2-hour movie. I was like very close to being like, well,
glancing over at the TV just now and seeing it. Yeah. So we still have it up. It was 87 minutes. That's a surprise. It felt longer. Like we just got done saying that it's decent, and it is. It's just there were some scenes in it that did really drag on longer than necessary.
Definitely, yeah. And it wasn't the good kind of linger. It was the linger that like
this would have done good as like a short like anthology short film or something like if it was part of Creep Show or Tales from the Crypt or something like that. Because I was invested in it, but to get to eat each step of the way with this movie, it just took quite a while to get there in some cases. Yeah. Mostly in part because everyone just fucking crawled around.
Yeah. Like a lot.
Yeah.
Even when they were walking, they were crawling somehow.
Yeah. A lot of running around, falling down and crawling around.
Yeah.
Help me up. And then we both fall down and crawl around and Pumpkinhead's coming. And so, yeah, what was your main takeaway?
So for anybody who has not watched it, if you want to watch a fun creature film, I would say go right on and do it. It was that old 80s, like early 90s, like kind of fun. So in that sense, it was cool. The creature definitely has like Alien Predator vibes. Like you can tell the same guy. When you said that, like he worked on those movies, that was like when the creature was revealed like fully for the first time. I was like, oh, that's a like Alien style, but not in a bad way, not in like I'm a super duper copycat way. It was just like it was super unique. Everything was done really well. Not to just say exactly what you said, but like there were just some times where things were just held way too long, or like the scene where the witch lady cuts his hand, and it's just like, obviously there's information trying to be given, but like it wasn't executed correctly. So like my assumption is like when she cuts his hand for his blood, right? And then he cuts his son's hand and then pours the stuff down the mummy's for all intents and purposes, but the mummy's mouth. As soon as the mummy starts to move, then he starts to go, ooh. And I think that was like the first foreshadowing that there's like a true connection between this creature and him. But like the way they executed it was terrible. Because he's just literally in the background of some shots like this. Like, and it's almost the same. It's like somebody told him, like, hey, if you've never been like ready to pass out, this is exactly how you do it. Just put your head down, go side to side, and just repeat that. So like all of his motions looked like literally identical from like each cut.
Yeah.
It was like he was like just restarting the same movement. It wasn't like very fluid. It was a little distracting. Like it would have been better if you just like saw him fall over and cut to like the witch doing something or whatever and then go on with it. There was just like some stuff like that where it was a little distracting in a bad way. Overall, for a late 80s creature film, it was pretty fun. Like I said, you knew exactly what you're getting when you're watching it, so it's not anything excuse me, necessarily like new or like cutting edge.
Yeah.
In that sense. But like cinematography wise, some of the framing was real nice. Those like random POVs were cool. So like you can tell he was like trying, or he was like intentional with stuff he did. Especially like camera work wise. I would say like basic effect wise was like spot on for that time. But like I said, there was just like a couple things, and it could have been the writing or, you know, kind of the translation from writing to the film, you know, to the actual video, or, you know, the shot or whatever that made it feel a little odd. But I mean, overall, it was, you know, it was a creature film. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to write home about it probably, but if someone's like, have you seen Pumpkinhead? I'd be like, yeah, that was a pretty fun movie.
I'd say the best thing you could have done for it really is just tighten up some of the scenes.
Yeah.
And the way it started off too, I wasn't sure if we were going to see a lot of Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
When it first got, they were showing these like really quick cuts or these little teases of him. And I know we both kind of,
which was well done.
We enjoyed some of those moments and shots in there, the way they presented Pumpkinhead, like walking by a window, the way they framed up some shots.
Yeah, and it's because it wasn't so obvious that it was going to happen. It was just kind of like she's walking across the camera, so it's like very eye-catching, and she's going to do something, and like there's another girl on the right side of the frame, and then just like in the background through these like, you know, I don't like what you would call the window design, but like a plaid window that, you know, it's 4 little squares. You just see like it moving. It's not like a flash. It's not like a jump scare. It's just like a very gentle, like it knows it's there for a reason, and the job will be complete.
Just hunting them.
Yeah. It was just clever in that way to me. There was stuff like that.
Even though Pumpkinhead was practically built, real physical thing there, as you got into the middle of the movie, and especially towards the end, Pumpkinhead went from being presented more subtly and more tease-like to being presented, okay, now you can see more of him. He's on screen for longer periods of time.
Right.
And then by the end, he's just in full frame, standing around, going after people.
I would say even almost a little too much.
Yeah, like it's impressive that they were able to make this creature. I guess it was a man in a suit,
right? I would assume so.
Yeah, because there was someone credited as it, but maybe there was probably like some puppetry stuff going on too.
Yeah, well, especially with like the long arms or the tail or something, there had to have been something else. But
so in that regard, it was impressive to see him moving around see his full body in frame and
Right.
moving, walking, attacking somebody, usually by grabbing their head with his hand for some reason and pulling them upward.
He really liked that move.
It's like he didn't know how he wanted to kill people a lot of the time, which was also weird.
Right.
Like he would grab them and like pull them up, and they would just be flailing around, and then you'd drop them and pick them back up again.
Yeah.
I don't know, but in any case, what I'm getting at is like it was impressive to see the practicalness of it all.
Right.
But even so, I think they showed too much of Pumpkinhead. I liked it a lot better towards the beginning when they presented him in like the background through the window, or you would see like a quick glimpse of him somewhere.
Right.
I just think it was a little better presented in that way.
Yeah.
And it was a lot less scary once he was all up in your face and everything.
It definitely was
lost its edge.
Yeah, it was definitely that typical like full reveal losing all the fun. You know what I mean? Because like as soon as a horror movie or a thriller movie does a full reveal, like all of the mystery horror is gone. And then you rely on like jump scares and like some stuff, you know, it just gets like very formulaic of like what you have to do to continue that like heightened sense.
It's definitely the least interesting part of the movie, because then you just have a booga booga monster just chasing people around.
Right.
And not really like stalking or hunting them. It's just a chase movie all of a sudden. And it's more like fast paced and action-y and everything. But once it goes into that territory with a horror movie, I'm just not enjoying it as much as I was.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a big deal or anything. It's just,
I think they did a good job with what they had.
Yeah.
And I think that's why when you said, man, I would love to see what this would look like today, I was like, yeah, 100%, because the concept is there. If someone did a shot for shot, like redo of the movie, just updated today with, you know, some gentle effects, like still creature work, but like, you know, bolster it where it needed it. I think it would be pretty fun, because it would be a little bit more convincing, especially if somebody took a little care with like pacing and stuff. Because like legitimately, this is probably like an hour-long movie.
Sure. Yeah.
Not even that. That's the weird part about it.
There's plenty you could have taken out.
Yeah, with 87 minutes, this is probably an hour-long movie if you cut it down to what it needs to be. And not that that's like a bad thing that they left it there. It was just obviously a choice, but some of the stuff was just like a little much.
Yeah.
Just like the length of time, like, you know, the length of time things just happen sometimes were like a bit much, but that's what the movie was. So it's,
yeah.
You know.
And going back to the bad actor group that was there, the incident happened. I mean, there's this incident that takes place, and so
I think you can tell
Lance Henriksen summons the fucking Pumpkinhead by using the old lady to do it.
Right.
Summon Pumpkinhead to get revenge on these punk ass city kids that were responsible for running over his son with a dirt bike.
Poor kid.
And so they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And
it literally looks like the Appalachians.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not, but
like it
just boonies. And
so you had this pretty interesting thing going on at first. Like it invested me more because all right, they ran over this kid.
Yeah.
And the dad is obviously very upset about that, and he has an axe to grind, and I can understand the motivation of him being so upset about it that he decides.
Did you just make that up? I'm sorry.
Which part?
He has an axe to grind?
Yeah. Or
Have
no,
you
that's
heard that before?
No, that's something people say. You never heard that before?
Once again, I've never heard of that in my life.
You never heard anyone say I have an axe to grind?
Nope, not once.
Okay, well,
so I apologize for cutting you off.
Yeah, good job. Now what the hell was I saying? So, okay, yeah.
He has an axe to grind.
It's investive, it's interesting. Yeah. You have things that going on that make you like engaged with it, with him losing his son and then wanting to summon a demon to get revenge. It's like, okay, that's all well and good. But then it's like doesn't really have anything else interesting to do after that.
Right.
And I was kind of hoping it would have something more to it, not in a way that it would bog it down, but just not be so predictable like a creature feature is, because that's really what it became.
Yeah.
Just the
it just
monster
hit that wall.
The monster just running around chasing them and getting them one by one, and the kills were kind of stupid. I didn't really enjoy.
They
any
were
of them.
1988 fun.
Oh, there's much better 1988 fun kills than that.
I didn't say they were the best. I just said they were fun.
Far from it. I mean, it just picks
he
people
stuck
up.
a rifle down the guy's chest.
That was the best one.
That was great.
That was the best one. And that wasn't bad.
You didn't like it when he dropped the girl from 80 feet onto a rock? That was cool. That was unique.
That would have conveniently placed rock.
How about a convenient?
It looked like they just dragged that, rock straight into that spot from.
Yeah, because there's no rocks and
just
trees.
Some big fucking foam rock. I don't know. That whole part, it just was a little silly. The way she falls.
Of course it was. Yeah.
She falls out of the tree and then she's just like the only fucking rock anywhere around, and she lands right straight on it, like all bent back over it, like, oh.
Well, I would assume that's why he took her up that tree to drop her on that rock. I don't think it was like coincidence.
It's
like
just right where everything was happening.
Well, of course, yeah.
Not a big deal. Just saying, what would have been better, what this movie should have done, I think.
What axe to grind? Oh, sorry.
I think you tighten it up. You probably could have, I would say, like, you could have probably slashed out literally half of this movie if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
And it still would have
worked. If you took
worked
out all of the scenes that were literally just kind of like, Billy,
do that.
Do this for me and I'll be back and we'll take a ride. Like, sit here, we'll leave later.
Yeah.
Like, there was just like a lot of long drawn.
You tighten it up. You get a little bit better actors and have better kills and show less of Pumpkinhead. I think you would have had a much better movie.
Yeah.
But it's still overall, I'd say, was good.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely good.
And
it was definitely creature film good. Yeah.
Yeah. There was good talent, I think, behind it, behind a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's just the end result, as with any movie, there's things that work and there's things that don't. And
okay.
Yeah. This one's makes it pretty easy for you to pick apart the little parts that didn't work, because you can definitely feel them when you're watching it. Do you have like a best part, worst part, or best aspect, worst aspect? I can definitely see why they made sequels to this. It's definitely a sequel.
I just wanted to see
sequel material. We're just scrolling through the IMDb, trying to look up.
I wanted to see what the budget was, but I guess it probably doesn't.
What year is it?
88. Wow, look at that. A grim fairy tale. Pumpkinhead. Looks so cool.
Yeah.
It looks way cooler than what it actually was. That's the
way
upsetting part.
Yeah, that's it. The way it's presented in the pictures, or this cover art here. Someone fucking drew this. There's a lot of fan art of it and stuff. It's really cool looking. And in the film, it does look cool.
Fact 3, his head doesn't look like a
Yeah, no, it does not.
Oh, my Lord.
But you can't quite, that's the thing, is like the way it's presented at first, you can't quite get an idea of what shape it is, or it's this very oddly shaped thing. And when it's like mixed in with the trees,
made its estimated budget back.
It like blends in with the trees and branches and stuff. You can't really make out everything that makes up the creature.
Yeah.
And that when it was presented in that way,
it was cool because
that's what made it scarier.
Yeah. And you got like very odd shapes.
Yeah.
And you couldn't like picture it as a whole because of how odd it was.
Yeah. By the end, it even though it was not CG, which is nice.
Yeah.
It just was like a Lord of the Rings.
It was CG.
It might as well have been one of those fucking Lord of the Rings trees just standing there going up, up. Or a Star Wars thing, alien just standing there. It was kind of in the same league as that. And it was making fucking faces and stuff like.
Well, yeah, that's what I was.
It's like, come on.
That was I was gonna get to this, but when you asked what like my favorite and then least favorite was probably like that, because at the very beginning of the movie, it was made to be out. What is the phrasing in this? Made to be like a creature or a demon or a awful thing you don't want to be outside for, and you can basically stop it by not being involved with anything or just being in your house, which is goofy. But the one thing I really didn't love about it is as it was being made more evident that they were like linked, the more human-like the Pumpkinhead started to become. Like it started out with like a weird like grin. Like it showed like this weird like grin a couple times, and I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. And then it was like a full-on smile. And then by the time he's in the barn trying to get the flame thrower ready, flamethrower ready, the thing's got like his face. Did you notice that at all?
Not really. It felt
at the end
odd.
at the barn, it was like his face on Pumpkinhead.
Oh, okay. I didn't really catch
it was like
but...
a huge difference in like face.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, yeah, right. Like what's the end game here? Like obviously the end game to a certain point, because the witch told him that he's going to pay the ultimate price at the end, which I would assume means after the deed is done, Pumpkinhead kills him, and that's why he becomes the next Pumpkinhead. Like that's just part of the deal.
Is that basically what it was going for there?
I assume so.
He's the next Pumpkinhead.
I assume so. Because the body he brought to the witch to like do everything with wasn't Pumpkinhead, like the shape of Pumpkinhead or anything. It was just a body. And then the transformation happened, and then it's Pumpkinhead.
Whose body was it? Just somebody from the graveyard?
Somebody before. It obviously was a specific one because it was up on that hill. So it was probably the Pumpkinhead he saw when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Or that guy that Pumpkinhead killed. I don't know.
Look.
It's a little...
However you get the fucking creature into the movie to kill people.
That's angry now.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Do it the way you're going to do it. It's just there's like a way to present it that makes sense, and there's a way to do it that doesn't.
This is coming from a guy
sometimes
that made the decision that Valu should be waving at the camera at one point.
You can totally see that's like a green screen head mask and everything.
I freaking love it. We should
every time we should remake it.
Or that's what I'm talking about though. We should do like a trailer, like a new trailer for like old movies we did that are just like hyper better.
We could just start with Valo, just remake it, make it better.
No, we don't have to remake the whole thing.
Oh, we could make it so much better.
Yeah, I know we could, but that's a lot of time and effort.
Oh, we can do it. Now we know exactly what we're doing now.
We get the old cast and crew back. Starring once again.
Yeah, well, there's two guys that will always help us. But with this fucking Pumpkinhead thing, there's all sorts of, mystical magic or spells you read out of a book or say the magic words and you resurrect the demon. So however you get the demon out of the cornfield to attack people, it's how can you can't really screw it up so much. And it's not like I'm not down with the idea of Pumpkinhead. In order to exist, he needs a human host to be linked to or something. But once they started going into the territory of like, he's like almost a fucking voodoo doll for this thing now and has its face. I'm like, we don't have to go there. Yeah. We don't have to do this shit. Like if he just needs some fucking person alive to be linked to or whatever bullshit you want to come up with, it doesn't really fucking matter because it's just this big creature running around killing people. There's no overall greater purpose or point.
Right.
Like there could have been some really more interesting mythos to explore or some other. That's what I wish
that's-
they had some
yeah.
fucking new angle they presented in the second and or third act.
Right.
The way they invested me with the kid getting killed and
Yeah.
Lance Henriksen summoning the demon, and he's personally invested now.
It felt like there was a lot more behind the scenes than what they led on, and then what they chose to show was just kind of like,
Yeah, it's like that movie It Follows, like really great premise and setup,
right.
and the movie's very interesting, like the first third, and then it becomes just a monster just chasing kids around, and it doesn't become anything more than that.
Right.
Or there's nothing else about it, and it's like you have to walk that fine line between like, oh well, hey man, this is just like a creature feature, it's what it's supposed to be,
Right.
but if you have an interesting premise and setup, can't you apply something to be explored in the latter part of the movie as well? That's just as interesting. And instead of just making all these interesting ideas just funnel into the same fucking thing by the middle and the end, just a booga booga monster running around, going booga booga, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna pull you up into a tree.
No, and that's what it
make
felt
you bleed.
like. They got like 75 or 80% of the way there, and then just kind of like, for the last 20%, we can just follow like the monster puppet films, script. That's what it felt like. It felt like they drug you along 75% of the way, got you invested, and then just kind of like, yeah, we're tired.
Yeah.
So let's just do it like everybody else. But this sounds like we're really hating on it, or Matt's really hating on it, but it was a fun movie. It's just, if we were, I guess, honest about the movie itself, obviously lacks a little bit, but
yeah, the things that work really well, and I would say it's definitely worth watching, especially if you've enjoyed Stan Winston's work.
Yeah,
you can see he's very much involved still with the special effects angle as well as directing things, and it's interesting just to see how he helms this. I don't know if this is like his first or his only directed movie. I don't know.
Keep talking. I'll
but
look it up.
In any case, you can definitely see.
What is it, Stan Winston?
Yeah. You got the good creature effects working for you. Lance Henriksen does a good job,
Wow.
Yeah,
known for 4 movies.
Yeah, known for.
He works on everything.
So Shutter Island was the last thing he worked on.
Special effects.
Yeah, so you see some fun favorites in there.
Director.
Okay.
Michael Jackson Ghosts.
Oh.
T2 3D. Guns N' Roses.
Oh wow, he made the fucking Universal Studios Terminator 2 thing. Is this a feature length?
Looks like it. He went super PG with this.
Looks like Stan Winston
some more creature work.
Directed 2 feature length films. Who's that actor in that? Who's that guy?
Anthony Michael Hall.
Oh my gosh.
It is. Look at him go. Maybe we should watch that next. It's PG.
Jesus.
It was made 2 years after the first one. Or, yeah.
So he wasn't in the directing game for too long, and then I guess he just got right back into
special effects,
doing his usual thing. But I think since this is pretty much a one and done, I think he did a pretty good job overall.
Yeah.
I mean, it was enjoyable. It was fun. You can kind of turn your brain off. It's one of those things. And if it did try to do something more, it might have ended up worse for it.
Right.
It just kind of depends how it was executed, but it was done the way it was done, and whatever. It was a fun. It's short. I mean, it's 87 minutes. But definitely some parts will feel like they drag on a bit, and those parts are usually because someone is dragging themselves literally on the ground for
dragging it,
like 5 minutes.
Well, so we don't talk in circles. You want to?
Oh, is that what I'm doing?
No, I said so we don't. You want to do the rating sheet?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this rating sheet we do, so to say, it's just a little rating grid that we came up with. If you can't see it, we break it down into 6 categories: sound and music, rewatchability, story, characters, creativity, and then a category that I made up where basically it's just, do you believe the story? So as Matt usually explains, this is kind of like every movie has its own universe and rules and, you know, kind of restrictions it lives in. And do we believe that in the information we've been given about that movie universe, if that makes any sense? So, do you want to kick us off with sound and music?
So the sound and the music for this movie, I'll give it a 5.
Okay. Par for the course. I'm going to give it a 5.
I don't even really remember music and sound. The only thing that really comes to mind is just the noise that Pumpkinhead would make. It kind of reminded me as the same sound as from the Thing movie. It's like that sound of like a lot of fucking tentacles moving really fast at the same time, like, or whatever. But you know, nothing memorable or really much to say about it. So it's just nothing overly distracting or bad about it either. So it's just right in the center.
It's just there.
Yeah.
What do you got for rewatchability?
I would give it 6.
You're gonna take all my scores.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6 just because I would say just above par. So rating on a scale of 1 to 10, 6 because I think it's just above the point where I would consider not watching it. So, let's say whenever to someone's house and they were like, "Hey, you want to watch Pumpkinhead? I've never seen it before." Like, sure, whatever, no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, it's not gonna destroy me by watching it again, or I won't feel like it's that big of a waste of time. But
there's fun cinematography in it. There's enjoyable atmosphere.
Right.
There's some funny moments. You know, silly, a little bit cheesy, whatever.
Right.
So, you know, whatever.
Then we got the story. I already wrote mine down because I literally talked about it.
I'll give it a 6.5.
Yeah, just like I talked about literally a couple minutes ago. I just feel like they got 75 to 80% of the way there and then just kind of stopped with taking the story where it should have or needed to go. But, you know, to each their own.
Yeah, I mean, you had the dad who just decides all of a sudden that, oh, I summoned this demon to kill these men who killed my son.
Right.
But now all of a sudden I'm going to stop this creature.
Right.
And go after it with my shotgun. And it's really nothing much more riveting than that. I mean, I wish there would have been what I think what this movie really needed in it was some sort of interaction between the dad and the guy that actually ran over his son. But
what was the interaction? Like the dad shot Pumpkinhead, and that's like the first time they made eye contact, I guess.
Yeah, you just don't really get anything there, or like, oh, I forgive you, or anything that really amounts to much of anything there. Like this dude runs over the kid, and then it doesn't make any sense because he's like, well, shit, I had a beer like an hour ago.
Yeah,
they're gonna throw my ass away forever.
Yeah, it's a little.
So he fucking like basically kidnaps all of his friends and like threatens them, no, and cuts the phone line. Nobody's fucking calling any help for this kid. We're gonna let him die, which he pretty much did. I mean, because he stopped any help from getting there, the kid did die. He was alive for a while, But
at least we think so.
maybe if
I
they
guess.
would have called for help sooner, they could have gotten there in time to help him. I don't know.
Right.
But they try to like redeem the guy in some way because all of a sudden he just sort of changes his mind. Like, oh, now we can leave.
Isn't that like
Oh.
after his brother dies?
Yeah, his brother dies, and then he's like, oh, okay.
Oh, I guess I'll be the good guy.
But he's still like, yeah, you ran over a kid, but you're such a dickbag that you drove away and then kidnapped your friends and threatened to kill them and almost fucking killed one of your friends.
Yeah.
He hit him over the head with like a log.
Yeah.
And I thought he did
Which
kill
is
him.
definitely killing potential.
I mean, this guy's out of his mind. And so he's not very likable. And you don't really have anybody to grasp onto.
Right.
You just got a bunch of bad actors running around. You got this dick bag.
Yeah. The only real connection that is like attempted to be forced upon you is the connection between father and son, which they do a pretty good way.
They're good at setting that up. And then he's a vengeful father, and he does a good acting job with it, but he just doesn't really have much to do.
Right.
And he never does have that interaction with the guy that did kill his son.
Which is
we never we never come full circle really on any of that stuff.
Right.
It's just kind of all this is just the cause to get the creature out of the ground and chasing people and killing them in bad ways, if I might add.
Yeah.
But that's really, it's just the prompting piece, really, is what it comes down to. It doesn't really have a resolution with any of that. I felt kind of shorted on that front.
Yeah, like without beating a dead horse, like I said, 75%, 80% there, and then gave up.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the characters?
Oof. Not great for me.
You don't even think par for the course for 1988?
I'm gonna give it a 4.5. You know, Lance's facial expressions, bumped up a notch. And the son did good for the little bit he was in it. One of the kids, city kids or whatever, was decent. The girl that lived like all the way through it, she was fine for the most part. She was like the best.
Oh yeah, she did live
at acting out of all of them.
That's why they gave her as much screen time as possible.
Yeah. So not everybody was terrible, and nobody was like terrible. There was just some that were pretty just flat out bad.
Right.
But they didn't stick around too long. It's just a stupid 80s high school chatterbox bullshit that
it is like I said before, and Matt goes 4.5. I'll do it 5. So I'll say on par for 1980s creature film with needing people to kill. I mean, it's like we said before, it's exactly what you think it's going to be. So it's not surprising to me, and I'm not like super upset that that's what it is, because I knew what it was going to be. But how about the do you believe it? Do you believe in this universe?
I really couldn't buy the whole thing with the guy that ran over the kid and then instead of calling for help just kidnaps all his friends and like makes them stay in this fucking cabin for however long. And what's he waiting for? He's just staring out the window, like thinking about what to do.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then he just kind of gets redeemed for a reason he didn't deserve. The same way Lance Henriksen decides to be all badass at Pumpkinhead instead of the kids.
Right.
All of a sudden.
Right.
No, I didn't really believe it so much, but it was enjoyable. I'll give it a.
What will you give?
I'll go to 4.5
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gave it a 4, kind of without repeating you. Kind of the same thing.
There wasn't silly stuff.
Yeah, there wasn't enough there to like keep it together for me. So in that sense, it was just hard to believe everything. There were some things that I did like, okay, I buy that. Okay, I buy that in this world. And then kind of like the scenes that they held on too long. They pushed it just too far, and then it to me it just breaks your. You have to have disbelief when watching a movie like this because you have to buy into the world, right?
Mm.
So when it's pushed so far that you basically are pushed back into reality, then you've taken that step too far, and that's never great. That's just garbage.
And the first 20, 25 minutes made it feel like a much darker movie. But because of the silliness and ridiculousness of it, that started picking up about halfway through and just kind of kept intensifying more and more. It just kind of sucked all of the fear and the tension and the darkness out of it for me, and just kind of made it more of a, fluffy creature,
a little nonsensical,
silly, whatever.
All right, now last one, creativity. Go ahead.
Well, I've been kind of harsh on this movie.
Oh, you're gonna give it a good
across
one.
the board so far, but like Hellraiser redeemed itself in the creativity department.
How high will he go?
This one's creativity is what is going to bring the score back up for me, but it had some really good creative things going for it, for sure.
He's pausing.
But
he's hesitating. He's going to give it a 2.
Beyond the creature itself and the cool atmosphere of it and the old lady, and you can imagine some fun fucking mythos behind all of that if you wanna. Yeah, a 7's perfect. It's right in the pocket.
Oh wow, he just copied me.
Yep.
He copied.
Very like-minded on this one. Wow, we were almost the same score on everything.
Yeah.
We might average out to the same score. I think we did.
I'm gonna do
the
officials here real quick. I will be rounding up. Keep talking to the crowd.
Well, I see that
the
my
camera's on
average.
your face.
I see that my average is a 5.6, and you're still figuring out your average. So, yeah, but it's a good 5.6. It's a healthy 5.6. It's a 5.6 that's really leaning hard towards that 6 out of 10 for an overall movie. Just if you know what you're getting into.
If I don't round up my 7, it's a 5.6 and 5.7.
Okay, so a 5.65.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So if you like fucking Stan Winston, if you like creature movies, if you like teenagers running around going, something's chasing us, well, give it a try. Basically it.
Well, give it a try.
Yep.
Yeah, so our official score, like he said, is 5.65. And yeah, I would just say it runs that par course for a 1980s creature film. Not necessarily in a bad way. It has its moments, but the creature films for us haven't been super exciting lately. This was a lot better than the Hellraisers that we've tried.
Mm-hmm.
My lord, if anybody knows of any of the Hellraisers that will redeem anything about that franchise, please let us know. I would love for that to be something at some point, but I also am not going to spend the time watching all of those movies.
Oh God, no. It set itself up so well at the very beginning of the first Hellraiser. And it was just so fucking intriguing and just odd and strange, and enough that you wanted to see more, and where I want this to take me to some new and interesting places, or do I really? But I want to look behind the curtain and see what we got. But then Hellraiser 2 just really dropped the ball for us. We just didn't get it, really.
Right.
And this, in the same way, I think its biggest strengths were towards the beginning, and as the movie went along, it just sort of lost its potency.
Oh, definitely.
But through and through, I still am glad that we watched it. I think I feel like because we didn't know what the fuck we were going to pick tonight, we were scrolling all over the place, but I'm glad we ended up with what we did.
Yeah. Definitely not upset that we watched it. Definitely there could have been movies that would have been upsetting to waste the time on, but I don't think that was this.
No,
I definitely wouldn't say that.
unless they had some really fucking interesting, intriguing angle to throw at us in the second and third act. This should have just been a short film.
Correct. Yeah. And the irritating thing to me is that in the end, obviously they threw out that teaser that there could be a second movie with that like real good close up of the necklace his son made him. And it was just kind of like, really? But that's what every freaking movie does that all the time. So I guess I can't be that upset about it, but whatever.
They fucking wrote that in like a week before they started filming.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. Either that or it was like day of.
Could be.
Which would be not surprising either. But in saying all of that, you got any last words? Looking to the cameras and
No.
Okay. Well,
Nah.
Well, boys and
really.
girls, if you want to tell us stuff, subscribe, comment, do your thing, and do your thing.
What's this thing? I had to have one yourself.
You're out to your desk. You're out today.
Hey, you get one.